Here we are. Hopefully you can hear me. We're back. Here we are. Hopefully you can hear me. We're back. Oh boy. There's another computer talking. There we go. Ooh. All right. Episode 2. Our odyssey into totally not Monopoly, but Forceopoly begins. Continues. Does not begin. We're going to make some flows. We're going to probably update some data. We'll probably realize we've got some data model stuff we still need to do from last week. I got some data. I found the CSV files that that were shared last week to get all the properties updated. I haven't quite finished all of that. I got to do some record type changes, but those imported pretty nicely. Turns out other people have been poking around at the same kind of projects in different languages and have some other logic that they've applied that's similar to what we talked about last week. So that's cool. We're not crazy, and we're gonna make this thing work. So I wanted to start playing with some flows, so we don't end up looking at data all the whole session. I'm sure we're gonna have to jump in and out of some stuff to make things work, but I want to start with a flow that kicks off a new game, so we can pick some players and we can start a game and build the board and do all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna squeeze the life out of Flow to make this happen. So we'll get going. Comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, hopes, dreams, and aspirations are welcome in the chat window. I got a new camera. Not a new camera. I used my camera that I use for taking pictures and realized that, it works as a webcam. So, hopefully my gray hairs in my head and beard come through much clearer now. And hopefully this doesn't choke the life out of all of the bandwidth that we're allocated for our stream. We have a website now, too, YCDTOSF. I'm getting good at saying that, even though I just messed it up. I'm going to post the stream recordings there. We've got a GitHub repo that has the Forceopoly code in it now, and we'll store other projects there as we move on to new things. And, having a good time. So let's do some stuff. Let's get over in the org. Now, I have this really, hopefully irrational fear that my Scratch org that I've been working in is gonna die any minute. I hope that's not the case. We'll keep jamming if it does. But man, I just feel like that 30-day expiration is ticking. So here's the code we looked at last week. Here's the board file that somebody shared in the chat last week too. Super helpful. I just couldn't map the record types that we had created. But I got all the other stuff, which is awesome because I was not really looking forward to having to punch all this data in. I'm keeping this stuff in the source code too, because eventually this org is going to go away. We're going to have to rebuild a Scratch org, and maybe we can work on some scripts for bringing data back to life for as part of a Scratch org stand up when we need to do that. Like I said, we've got a GitHub repo. Drag that out here real quick. Not a ton going on out here right now, but Forceopoly is out here in the main branch. Pretty much the same as what we last looked at last week. So not a ton of changes here. In fact, I haven't uploaded that CSV file yet that I just used to create the properties with. But we'll keep this updated. Really, really terrible README here right now. These are just the raw notes that I pulled out of a text file from last week. We'll update that too, and start making this look a little bit nicer. Okay, back over to the org. Oh, that's the code. Let's go to the org. There we go. I was just looking at properties. Got them all in. Just they all record typed as properties. There's a few updates that are needed, but we got a whole board here, so that's cool. All right, let's start a game, and we'll use a flow to start the game. What do we need to do to start a game? We need to create a game object record. That was the umbrella that we're using to. I'm gonna start one in slow-mo. Create a game. The game knows about the houses that are allowed to be on the board. There's a limit to that. Number of hotels. We talked about active player. We're not gonna do anything with that. The game engine will populate that for us. A free parking bank will keep track of how much money is in there. So if I were to do this, we now have a new game in the system. We have got some calculations here that'll let us know what we can do as far as houses that can be purchased or houses that are available, that sort of thing. The related stuff is probably more interesting. We got to get some players in this game, and we've got to get our game properties, which is basically an instance and a reference to our properties dictionary. So I would see this flow hopefully being some kind of screen that, hey, new game, yay, pick the players. How many do you want? Who are they? Because we can relate our players to users in the Salesforce org. My Scratch org only has like one user right now, so maybe we'll take a minute to get a couple more users in there to make this feel a little bit more authentic. And we'll get that starting of the game will do the properties, bring in the game properties so that people can own and trade properties with each other. And we'll have to do the same thing with game cards. We didn't create that data logic yet, or that object even, so that would be kicked off as part of this flow. And we got to figure out how to get people rolling dice. And I feel like that's something that we're going to have to kind of repeat, over and over again. So we'll see if rolling dice is something that's like a really goofy one-off randomizer flow. I've never done a random in a flow before, so maybe we'll have to think about how that might work. That we can call on, for example, the start of the game, you got to decide whoever rolls highest. I think the rule is whoever rolls highest goes first, and then you always go clockwise. So that probably means we need, I don't know if we created a sequence field on our player record, but we're going to need to have some way to keep track of in what order do people roll and play the game. So yeah, let's do some stuff. Go over to flows. Let's make a new flow. This flow is going to be a screen flow, and it's going to probably be really, I guess it would be the equivalent of hard-coded and redundant, because I think this flow is going to actually do a lot of things that the game is going to have to do at other points. Shuffle chance and community cards, for example. Give people a way to roll, like we talked about that. And probably some other stuff that eventually we'll be able to, we'll build this flow, and then we'll pull some parts out of it, turn those into subflows, reference them back in, and try to have a little bit of best practice, if you will, to whatever extent our tolerance for pain is for that. So I think this is a screen flow. I envision like technically we could take over the new game action. Maybe that's the way to do it, because there's really no reason to create a new game like I just did for any purpose other than doing what we're about to do here. So we'll decide how this surfaces to people For right now, let's start making some stuff. All right, so what do we talk? We're gonna make a game. We need players. All right, here's a screen. It's surprising to me that Flow's been around for so long, and there's still, at least I still get confused by the these labels don't show up anywhere as far as I can recall. I always expected them to actually like label the screen that I'm on, but the screen label is always the same. It's always the flow name. So anyway, annoyances aside, let's make. We probably should tell the user what we're gonna do here. So we'll call this display text 1. Let's see. Make a new Forceopoly game. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. We need some players. How should we pick players? We could cheese out and just have like a selection pick list of players to choose. Is that gonna work? I can't do a multi-select. Could I do a oh no, I can do a multi-select pick list now. Okay. All right, sure. Let's see what this does. I honestly don't remember the last time I used one of these in Flow, but pick players. This is not going to scale. If for right now we're going to build this assuming we got 4 people in our org. We'll have to come back to this when we need 4,000 people in the org. But for right now, let's we'll go with this. We do need to require this. Let users select multiple options. Yes, please. Choice. Let's make a new choice list, and we'll make this from records. Call this user choices. And user object somewhere here. So many user objects with the word user in it. There's a lot of them. All right, user filters. Not right now. We'll come back to that as we need to. All right, what's the label going to be? I would vote for name. Nope. Name. And data type, we'll make the value be the ID. I have a feeling this is, I don't know how janky this, what are we going to end up with when we, because I'm going to need to loop through this selection. So hopefully I end up with something loopable, or we're going to have to do this a different way. But that's okay for now. Worst case, we'll loop through screens and say keep going, keep going, keep going, and then have some kind of short circuit in it. But let's, oops, what did I forget? Oh, new filter? We don't need a filter. I'll just get all the users. All right, pick players. Let's save this. Let's save this before I lose it. This is create new game. Good. And I don't want to activate it, but let's debug it, see what actually comes back here. Now again, I'm in a Scratch org. These users are going to be absolutely useless, whatever shows up here. But that's actually me. I guess we probably should, let's filter that a little bit. Let's filter those user choices. We don't want users, usually do user type is standard. I think that will get rid of some of the junky ones. Usually do last name does not equal user. That gets rid of Mr. Security and Mr. Integration, or Mrs. I don't know. Those users. Let's try this. Let's debug this again. Run. Did I not? I don't think I saved that. Let's save. That would help. And debug. And run. Okay, great. So now I've gotten rid of all of the users because my user's name is also user. So we will not overstress the filter for right now. We'll just try not to make dumb choices when we pick people. But let's go with that. We'll go with the standard. That still might get rid of automated process, I think. All right, debug you. Yay! All right, slightly more filtered list, and we'll filter it some more from there. So here's my person, and if I were to pick like all of these, what happens? Let's see. I assume I get a value out of pick players in a subsequent step that I can do something with. Let's see what it lets me do with that. I'm just going to throw another screen in here and see if I can get that to display. Actually, I don't know if I don't even need to do that. We can just debug and see what gets selected here, right? Choice is selected at runtime. Hoping I can loop through that, because we're going to need to create user or player records from that. So here's hoping. Let's see. Let's make a new player collection. New player collection. Let's make this a record that we can have multiple types of, and these will be players. Hopefully that will do what we want it to do. Let's see, can we loop user choices? Womp womp. Okay, we can't do that. What can we do? We could... I think we're going to have to do this different. I feel like we're going to have to have a... we're going to have to use a single pick and keep looping through that to build this. Before we do that, let's take a quick look at what does the data look like for our selection. I'm just going to throw out a not super useful. All right, no, that's the choices. We don't want that. We want the pick players multi-select. What does that show us? Let's debug again. Okay, I'll pick two of these next, and I literally get their names. So this is not exactly what we're hoping for, and I don't think there's any way for me to change. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you could change this data type to be record, or collection or something like that? But that's okay. We'll do this another way. Instead of a multi-pick list, we'll use a regular pick list. Oh, can't get rid of that yet because we got to get rid of our other page here. This will be making a mess. Let me get rid of my other screen here so we don't have any conflicts. There we go. All right, so we'll make a... I guess we could just do a lookup then, right? We can just look up a user, and so this screen will say, you know, instead of saying make new Forceopoly game, yeah, we'll say make new Forceopoly game, yeah, pick your players. Okay, we'll do that. We'll get rid of this. Then we can probably get rid of user choices too, I think, because we could, let's call this user lookup. Lookups are always a little confusing to me because it's like you need the API name in the flow, but you also need the API name of the thing that you're picking, and the fields are never totally laid out in the way you would expect. So the API name is is the name in the flow. The field API name I'm going to come back to because it's so confusing without any context that we'll come back to it. Label's nice and easy, like play. You select a user to play. Okay, object name. We're going to not look up users. We're actually going to want to end up with a player with a field name user that should actually let us look up users as if this were the user field on a new player record. Yeah. Okay. The record ID, we'll get that when we make our selection. And I guess, yeah, this is required. Maybe it's not required because we need a way to like bypass this. And if I don't pick something, I think I'm going to use that as logic to say, okay, cool, you're done. You're done picking your players. Move on to the next step. Otherwise, we're just going to keep kind of looping on this page, and we'll give that a go. Let's see what we get here. We're going to pick our user, done, and now to loop this, we need a mechanism to loop against. So, what's the best way to do that? Because we can't just draw a line back to our previous step here. There's a maximum number of players in a Monopoly game, I think. Let's find out. Max players. 2 to 8. Okay, so the most we would loop through this is 8 times. So let's see if we can do that. I'm gonna bring out a loop. Loop player count. So what we could do is actually load up a... Do we want to do that? Or can we just count? It'd be nice to just count, right? We need a collection of something that we can loop through. So let's create... Doesn't really matter. We'll call this player counts. Data type. So we're going to basically make an array of slots for users to fit into. We'll allow multiple of those. I don't think I can default. Let's see, can I default values? No, you can't default values on a collection. So, okay. So at the start of this, we're going to assign, let's add, I don't like player counts. I'm going to call that player slots. So it makes a little more sense. Okay. So we need to load this, load player slots. Now we're not loading this with Actually, no, we could do that, right? Maybe we could ask the user at the start, hey, how many people do you want to play? And that would be the slots that we end up with. So we could, I'm gonna keep going this route, and we'll see if we we end up with. So I'm gonna load these player slots. So we're gonna say player slots, add 1 player slots. I always feel a little kind of leery about doing this way because I assume that that Flow's gonna run this in sequence. I wish that there was a way that you could reorder these. I don't know. Sometimes I just want to have things, in the right sequence. But for now, let's see. All right, player slots. Where are we up to? We got 6, 7, and 1 more. 8. All right, cool. Save that. We're not ready to really do anything with the loop yet. All right, now let's debug this and see what our data looks like. All right, cool. So we got player slots is an array. So now I've got something loopable. So I can use something to iterate over and hopefully loop through our until we have all the players that we want. I'm going to let my dog out because he wants to go out. So there he goes. Goodbye, dog. All right. Something loopable. If you want to have a loop, you got to have something loopable. It's like if you want to report on something in Salesforce, you can't report on something that doesn't have data. I guess there's ways around that, but we won't get into that. Okay, so I now have this player slots property that I should be able to loop over. Yes, and groovy. Save and make sure we can actually loop over that. And we can. Oops. All right, so what I probably want to do is actually move this screen. I'm going to copy this into the loop. We'll get rid of it here. All right, so now we load our player slots so we can have up to 8 players. We we can loop over those slots so that we can show a screen with each loop and ask the user for players to select from. And when we're done, we'll go on from there. We're going to create a collection of players along with the game. Now, we got to have at least 2 players. We only have slots for up to 8, so I think that will take care of that side of the house. So we're going to need some kind of validation in this process to make people choose at least 2 players. And I think we also need some kind of short circuit on the screen to say, I'm done. I'm done picking players. Unfortunately, there's no way to modify easily. I'll say there's no way to easily modify the buttons that are in a flow without some code hocus pocus. So we're not going to take that route. The user experience is going to be a little kind of cheesy, but we'll probably have a checkbox that's like, I'm done creating users, and we can use that hopefully as a short circuit to take away the to stop the loop. I think. Let's see what we can get into. Probably going to be important for us to keep track of the player that we're adding. So let's get out of here. We need like a current player, right? Which would be, well, I guess the loop is actually keeping track of that for us. Assuming that we probably can use that. Yeah, maybe that's good enough. So we actually could say, make a new Monopoly. Yeah, pick your players. And this select. Select player. Maybe we can make this dynamic. This can be the current item. So select player 1, select player 2, select player 3, blah, 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 blah. I think. We'll pick the player, and our next step will be to add whatever we selected to the collection. Let's try it. Right, so we're going to go here, we're going to loop in here, hit our screen, and then we're going to do an assignment. We need a current, to go with our collection. So I got my new player collection, and then I like to create like a new, I like to have a variable when I'm looping through something to build a collection. So I'm going to just create a new player. Oh, I'm going to not scream about it. New, I'm going to type in the right field. New player. So this will be a variable that we can use when we're in each loop instance or iteration to build the player record that we need. There's not much to a player record, I don't think. Well, no, we'll build the we gotta check data model. We'll come back to data model in a second. We're gonna create a player record. We're gonna let the dog back in because he's ready to come back, and here he comes. Come on, pup. I'm gonna get y'all a Shiloh cam. Man, that'll make viewership just go through the roof. If you guys, who cares about this nerd playing with Salesforce? I want to see this guy's adorable dog. I'm really building that up, so hopefully you all think he's as adorable as I do. But we'll get Shiloh cam going. Okay, new player, record player, cool. So that's what we're going to use in each of our iterations. And then we'll add that to our collection. So my screen should be collecting the information that I need, and then I'm going to do an assignment. Let's say init new player. So my new player user field is the, what's our field called now? Our user lookup record ID. All right, did that, and I also want to, I don't think I need to do anything else. I'm going to flip over here and take a look at what is the data model on a player object. We have, let's see. Current property doesn't matter when we create a user. Game, we're gonna set that at the very end before we got to create our game. I don't want to create the game. I'm sorry, I don't want to insert a game record in my flow until I feel a little more confident that everything else is working. Because we want to insert the game and then turn around and assign that game ID to these players. So we'll probably have another loop later in this flow that goes back through our players that we've created. And actually do that. Is in jail? No, that doesn't matter right now. Money, I think that does matter, but I think we should default that. I can't remember how much money. Let's ask the internet. Monopoly starting money. $1,500. Okay. I think we can just default this. Let's do that. So money will be set for us. Default value 1500. Cool. All right, that's done. Yay, default fields. What else do we have on the player? Piece. Oh, gotta pick the piece. We'll do that. We'll figure out the piece. Player name. That's an auto number. Sequence. So we can use the sequence is going to be like not real to start because it'll just be well, I don't know. I mean, it's real enough. Like if you're making a game, the sequence of the players is, you know, we'll use the current number in our iterator for the sequence to start. The user field we're setting. So all right, let's go over here. We need user and we need sequence equals the current blue player count. I think we're starting at 1. Should be able to pull that off. Okay. And piece. We need to put the piece pick list into the UI, into the screen that we're coming from. We'll get to that. All right. Here's a fun. This is a fun question that I don't know the answer to. I sometimes am guilty of using an assignment field, using an assignment step in a flow for a little too much, right? So this is probably not best practice, and here's why. I'll show you something that you can do in Salesforce, but you shouldn't do in Salesforce. So I'm using this assignment step to set fields on my the player that I'm iterating over. Hypothetically, well, not hypothetically, I do need to add this new player to the new player collection before I move on to the next iteration. I could do that here by doing this, but you're stuck. And again, this is where sequence, I don't know the answer to this, and if somebody does, I'm all ears. If I were to say, oh, this user equals this and sequence equals that, and okay, we're done setting defaulting fields, let's throw it into the collection. And then I have to come back later and say, I need another field. I need to set another field on that new player. If I did that, it's going to show up below here. So I don't know if I continue acting upon this new player, if it's actually going to do that. I guess we could try, but on the other hand, I don't know if I even want to try, because I think a better practice is to like not mix metaphors in your assignments. I would do 2 different assignments, right? So let's get rid of all the garbage that I put in here. Let's use this init new player to set fields on the player, and we'll call that good. Then let's do another separate assignment to actually add player to collection. Feels a little cleaner. You're not going to stub your toe later if you realize you need to set more values. I think it'd be an interesting experiment to see what does Salesforce do if you've got add equal add, if it actually carries those variable settings forward or field settings forward. But we just won't make a mess of this right now, and we won't do that. So I'm going to use this assignment step to add to my player collection my new player. So this should be building a list of players as we go here. And it should do this 8 times. And we don't have any way to short circuit that right now. And we have 0 logic to check if we actually picked the same user. And there's plenty of other things that that needs some work here. But that's okay. Let's see how we're doing. All right, let's debug this. I just closed my hang on. I just closed my flow. And it's back. Okay. All right. Pick a player. User. Cool. Pick a player. I'm going to pick the same person for every single one. Pick a player, user. Pick a player, user. This is curious. My collection has player no ID. I wonder if that's going to be a problem by the time we get done here. But I also think I'm going to get rid of a few steps in that. Maybe we'll just make this up to 2 people for the moment. 7, 8. Here's my last one. This should be it. So we should get to the end. Yeah, so now we're done. Okay. Oh, okay. Wait, I think this is okay. I think this means that, yeah, because we're setting the right user here. If we look at our assignment through each of those, so sequence 8, user, that's a user ID, 005. And this just means, I think, that this player record doesn't have an ID yet because we haven't inserted it. I think that's okay. So yeah, we've got it 1, 2, I think there's 8 there. Yeah, let's say there's 8 there. Okay, so we got ourselves 8 players. What if we don't want 8 players? Let's short circuit the UI. Select user to play. No more players, please. I don't know how informative that is to a user, but here's my thought. You pick your player and then you check no more players, please, and we will we'll use that to short circuit through the rest of the loop. So we'll put a decision in here that actually does or doesn't do what everything we've set up so far, and that'll do that. So if you now this is confusing because if do I check this? Do I have to pick this? What do I do? We'll deal with a little bit of a little UX refinement later. But for now, I'm going to pick a user, and when I'm done picking a user, no more players, please. This would be helpful to maybe set visibility on, because we only want this we got to have at least 2 players, right? So let's set the conditions for current loop greater than 1. Done. Okay. That should not show this if we haven't gotten through the first loop of picking a player. Let's test that. Test as you go, kids. User. Aha! Look at that. Okay. Now, I don't have this logic in place yet, but now I should be able to check the box and do something with it. Let's go back and do something with the something. Okay. We need a decision. Now I'm curious. This is a variable that changes through the loop. I don't know if we're in a loop. So, and I believe that when we're in a loop, the screen resets each time. Therefore, I don't have a persistent variable, if you will, in this loop to actually, if I pick 2 users, I loop twice, and then I check this box and say no more players, please. I don't think it's going to do anything right off the bat. I think we have to do a check and say, if that box is checked, set some persistent variable that is not just this checkbox. We can't just rely on this checkbox anymore. I guess we should check. We'll check that in a second, but I don't think it's going to persist. Let's test this. Okay. We're on our first step. We don't have the checkbox. We're on our second step. We do have the checkbox. I don't have any logic that short circuits yet, so I'm still going to get to the third step. Aha. So I got to the third step. All the fields cleared. I don't think that this iteration has any idea that I just checked that box. So I got to set a variable. I got to check and see if the checkbox was checked. That was a lot of the word check, sorry. And then set a variable so that we can actually short circuit downstream. Because as soon as we check the box and hit next, we don't want to see any of the other pages. So it makes sense to have a variable store that for us as soon as it's checked. So let's set that up. We can also use that as the other side of our decision that we need to make here. We're going to disable some auto layout here in a second, I think, because we got to move some things around. But let's do this, and let's say decision. Actually, can we do one other thing here? Can I map this? I can't. I was hoping I could map this selection to a variable right from here, but I don't think I can do that. Some other components let you do that. Okay, decision here. Our decision is no more players, question mark. Practice I like to follow with flows is I kind of wish Salesforce would do this like automatically. Because you can't, I'm going to come down here and say no more players, label, yes. And then it's going to set the API name. And as soon as, I guarantee you're going to have a flow that has at least one yes no in it, or maybe two yes nos. And as soon as you do, you're going to be hitting the same API name. I wish it would take this and plunk it in there for you, and then when you update the label, it smash that on the end. So Salesforce, if you're listening, can you do that for me? Thanks, love you, bye. Okay, so no more players means if yes. Talk about double negatives. No more players? Yes. Okay. If not unchecked, just kidding. All right. Where's our field? No more players, please. No more players, please. Equals true. Then we don't want no more players. Okay. We're going to short circuit town. If we do, so actually, I think what we need here is probably two checks, right? Either this is checked in the instance or the iteration, or our global variable is checked somewhere else that we're about to set here in a second. Then we short circuit and go on. So let's see. All right, so that's done. We'll come back to this because we actually need the variable in a second. Let's do a little housekeeping. Go to freeform mode. I'll tell you what, after having auto layout is like 99% good 99% of the time. But when I got to switch out of it, I feel like a big dum-dum because I have to. I wish there was a way to move things around in auto layout without having to copy them. That seems like I'll just copy this over here and move things throughout the flow, the flow sequence. But this one I don't want to do that. So. Okay, here's our for each, our screen, our decision, our if no more players. I think this is the yes. Yeah, get rid of that because our default outcome should be to keep this path, right? I want more players, so do the assignment, add it to the collection, go again. If I don't want more players, then I'm going to do a different assignment, which is set, let's say global set no more players short circuit. Let's do that. We got to make a new variable. New variable, no more players short circuit. And the data type, we'll make this a Boolean. No more players. Unchecked by default. And we will set this to true if it's checked. This will be our other path. Let's go back to auto layout here. Yep, use positions, okay. Okay, so we don't want to end there. We want to connect this down to the bottom here to go through all of this stuff. I think I need another. Let's see. We do want to go back to here, right? Yes, there we go. Okay, so decision in the loop. I'm going to make this a little smaller just so we can see it all. I come in, loop my players, go in this way for each of them, show the screen. If the no more players is checked, I'm going to go this way. That's it. Okay, so maybe we can do this another way. Maybe we can adjust that. Let's adjust this UI. Let's move this up here. We'll say no more players, please, when we have more than... It really should be greater than 2, right? Like, if we're doing greater than 1, like, you're going to play Monopoly alone. I played Monopoly alone when I was a kid. Sad trombone. Didn't have anyone else to play with, man. And let's be honest, you can play Monopoly alone. You just need to roll dice. That's all. And spend a lot of time talking to yourself and giving yourself money and taking it away from yourself. Anyway, if no more players pleased is checked, I guess we should hide this, right? Because the way our logic is working right now, if no more players please is checked, we're done. We're in that current loop. We're bypassing from there. We're not even gonna create the new user. So let's do that. It's fun. I like component visibility. Super nice feature. Lets you do some, progressive UX stuff inside of, or progressive presentation UI stuff in Flow. So if that is checked, equals true. Wait. Yes, that's right. Oh, no. If it equals false, we want to show it. Got my logic backwards. Okay, done. Done. Save. Okay. It's debug time. Ruh-roh. What did we do wrong? Can't see nothing. Select player to play. When no more players please equals false. Oh, it's not even on the screen when we do the first. Is that why? I wonder if that's why. Can I not evaluate this logic because the component is not displayed because I have my less than 2 my less than 2 player eval to not show this. So maybe we need to make this an OR. So no more players is false, or current count less than or equal to 2, I think. Let's try that. I gotta compensate. I think I gotta compensate for the logic on the other one. Debug. Okay. Select player 1. Select player 2. No more players, please. Okay. All right. That looks like something. I'm going to click it and hope that our other logic works. It didn't. Because we forgot to update our other decision test. Okay. Got to go back up here, right? No more players. So that did confirm that the instance check, the checkbox that's in the instance of the iteration obviously does not persist. So we want to do a or here, because we want. Do we need to do that? Yeah, we need to do that. Short circuit was visit. No, that's I don't want to. Well, that's neat. I honestly have never clicked one of the assignments here. That's kind of, I've never done that before. What kind of trouble could we get into with that? I'm not going to do anything with it right now, but I didn't know you could like pick an assignment and say, was it visited? Hmm. Well, that could be useful someday for something else. Anyway, our probably could be useful for what we're doing right here, so I don't have to create this variable, but I'm not smart enough to work on the fly for that. Where is our variable? No more players short circuit equals true. Okay. So this is going to be false until we make it true, but this is going to be true to kick off the whole thing to get us down the path of checking the short circuit box. So I'm going to test for both of them. And now redundantly, we're going to keep running this, basically this circuit is going to run, player 1, player 2, no more players, please. If I pick that on 3, it's going to go no to 3, no to 4, no to 5, no to 6, no to 7, no to 8. Zerp, boom, out. So it's still running the loop to the end of the slots that it's got. We're just not doing anything with the rest of them. So we should, if we save now, be able to debug. Okay, player 1, user. Player 2, user. Player 3, no more players, please. Drum roll. Oh! Let's see. What did we miss? What did we miss? Setting that assignment. We get in here, right? No more players, please, equals true. Or no more players short circuit equals true. And go this way. This is redundant. We said it again, but that's fine. That's interesting. I would have expected it to run down this path, right? No more players. No more players to us means either the box was checked in the screen before, or our no more players short circuit. Let's watch some variables, right? Let's see what. Let's debug this again. See if we're losing anything in this loop. So let's see what we've got here. Got my player slots. Pick a user. Did we did we default our no more players short circuit? We didn't. So if it's not true and not false, that probably means it's null? Maybe that's part of the problem? Let's see. I don't know if that's the problem, but okay, we defaulted that value to false. I don't think that's the issue, but Let's add 2 users. Okay. No more players. We got 2 in our collection. I should hit next here. Ah, it still goes to 4. Do we have outcome executed? No more players. Yes. Oh, wait a minute. We're we're always showing that it still hits the screen for every loop, so it's not quitting. Just what B-Right said in the thing. Yeah, that's yeah. All right, so we actually need this screen. We need this screen somewhere else. Let's see. What sequence of events do we need to do here? Instead of always showing the screen, I want it to be. I think we're okay to drop it here. Wait. We might just need another decision point in front of it. Seems kind of cheesy. There's probably a more elegant way to do this. But if I put the screen here, that would, the first time it came in, it would pass. I still need to be able to do this decision to set that value. So I'm going to do this a gunky way. I don't know if this is right. This is probably not completely elegant, but we're we're going to test no more players before, and then we'll test no more players after, because no more players before is going to check the short circuit, and no more players after is going to check the checkbox, which would turn on the short circuit. Okay. My Boolean logic part of my brain is probably not well oiled to do this more elegantly, so we'll do this kind of no more players before. Yes. So this we want to check. Oh, there it goes. No more players before. Yes. Okay. This is going to test the short circuit. I picked the wrong one again. No more circuits. Short circuit equals true. We're going to test that here. And if we let's go back to freeform again. Yuck. No more players before. The default outcome is go to that. The other outcome is to just skip it, right? So we'll join this. Whoa, where did we go? Join this to here. All right, so if we come in, it's like the jank flow version of break. Yeah, exactly. This is like, I could write this with 3 lines of Apex, but that's okay. We're doing it in Flow, dang it. Our for each. All right, so we come in. Have you short-circuited? No. Okay, show the screen. Did you click no more players, please? Yes. Okay. Check that thing. Come in again. Zoop, 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 zoop. All right. I think we got it. Zoop, zoop, zoop. That's the noise that flows make when they work correctly. And debug. Here we go. This is going to work this time. I can feel it. User, user. User, user. No more players, please. I got 2. That's enough. Next. Hey-o! It worked. Somewhere here, I think, we have our... I mean, we didn't do anything with it. We still have to do all that other stuff that we were talking about before. But we are... I think we've got the players that we want. We have a way to short circuit that. And that's not too bad for right now. Certainly some validation. It's not, there's got to be a way to, I have a feeling that we're going to need to query somehow to get or filter out the users that we don't want in our lookup list as we pick them. But we'll come back to that. Close this guy out. Okay, so we can now have a way to pick all of the users that we want and ask it to stop. And piece, selecting the piece is very important. Can't, I gotta have my bathtub, people. We gotta pick the right piece for each person. So that probably means we have to do some more conditional rendering here. I should have put. Can I put this? I probably should have put this in a section, huh? Can I render? Yeah, this would be smarter. So the conditional logic here. Let me just grab a screenshot of this. I do this all the time. Can't remember what something needs to look like. Take a screenshot of it. I'm going to trash this, and then I want to apply that to the section. So we'll do our OR logic, which was no more players, please, equals true. I'm very curious about this assignment was visited thing, because I feel like I end up with a lot of these checkbox variables to maintain some state from somewhere, and if it's just known that something was visited, I might not need as much of that. I don't have that muscle, that muscle memory built up yet. So we'll keep doing it this way. This is false. Sorry. If that's false, or loop player count is less than or equal to 2. Okay, I'm doing this because I want to add another input field here. I'm going to add a piece selection so people can pick what piece they want to be. And I want to be able to hide the whole section instead of when somebody checks no more players, please, instead of having to repeat this logic for every field that's in there. Fortunately, I caught it soon enough that I could just recast this as a section, and I think I'm done with this now too. Okay, so we need a pick list. I didn't even think about fields beta. I wonder if that would be easier. I could use my new player, right? And then I can put piece out here, right? This field is managed in Object Manager, your permissions effect. Can I mix and match? Because doesn't look like it lets me do it. Well, doesn't look like it lets me do a lookup with a record, with a field like this. Oh, look at that. This B-Ride just sent me this. How'd you do that? If you had a node at the very end, you can go from the short circuit decision directly to outside the loop without needing a variable. Oh, I missed that. I missed that part. I've never done that before. Hold the phone. We'll come back to this. So I would go. Does that mean I would go from here? Am I going connecting to where? Nope. Oh God. What have I just done? So something like that, just totally wrong. All right, I'll come back to that. I get it now. So I could take my next step and move it down through the process. Yes, that would be, and that'd be more efficient too, because we won't have to loop every time. Let's see if I do this. Connect to... I feel like I want to connect to something down here, but it's not letting me. Okay, we'll come back to that anyway. I like this idea though. This will be a little cleaner. Meanwhile, we've got, let's go back to here. We're going to pick a user. We're going to pick a piece. We think that this is going to automatically select the pieces. Let's find out. I think I don't have to do a selection or an assignment on that either, because hopefully it'll already be chosen. So, okay, let's save and test. Debug. Player 1. It's thinking about it. I don't know if it's supposed to think that long. We definitely got our pieces here, but I don't have player field. Seems sad now. Did I do something silly when I moved it? Player, user. Is it because it's in a section? That would seem weird. You have to make a node to connect to. Okay, so we can come back when we get to another step. We can do that short circuit that B-Rai was talking about in the chat. That was weird. I don't know why it didn't. The user field didn't want to populate. I don't know if I typed anything either, to be fair. So, okay, we're fine. User, piece, battleship. Now, again, I don't know if everybody's allowed to be the battleship. User, boot. And then no more players. Interesting that it remembers this from one iteration to the next. I'm curious what that's gonna, if that's gonna do anything to us. But okay, go to next and all done. So hypothetically, we have our users, our players. Sorry, ready to go. Okay, we've got players. That was fun. We've got let's insert the game. So we'll create a new game record. I don't think we need anything on the game record besides just to have one. So create record, insert game. Just one. Just do separate values here. This is interesting. Is it going to let me insert? I bet it's going to yell at me because I didn't pick any fields. Nope, it doesn't care. All we need is an empty game. So we got that. I guess we could do this earlier on and just run this, you know, we would just have to roll back the transactions. We'll set it there for now, and then actually, you know what? I'm gonna be a little bit lazy. Let's do this up above. We'll insert our let's insert a game so we have a game record available to assign to the players. We might have to figure out some rollback mojo if there was a problem with this process. Separate fields. Make a game. Not actually setting any variables for that. So now I have an insert game that I can use in my assignment. So I go to new player, game equals you're in here somewhere. Game ID from new game or insert game. And then I've got my collection already, so I could insert my let's insert our players, and then we can just blow it all away if it doesn't work. Multiple records, new player collection, doop. Okay, so we're going to create a game, then we're going to create the players for the game, and then I'm probably going to, let's see, did we have a master detail? We do. So we can just delete the game record, and that'll wipe out the players as well, which makes sense. We shouldn't have players floating around without games. Debug time. Uh-oh. This error occurred when the flow tried to create records. Create one game record. Am I missing a field on the game? That's interesting. Guess maybe we... Field's an auto number, so I guess I shouldn't care about that. Do this another way. We'll create a variable that is the game, and we'll insert that as opposed to inserting an empty. So let's create a variable called new game. Data type record. And it's a game. And we'll insert that here. Here's our new game record. See if we run into the same issue. Dog had to go out. We're back. Okay, we created a variable instead of just doing an insert, so because the other way was giving us an error. So let's see if this works instead. It does not. Create one game record. Failed to create invalid ID field. Let's fire up our debug, our developer console, and see if those logs tell us anything more. We'll rerun this. Same error. Hopefully we caught it here. Well, that's no fun. It's the same error. Maybe we should check permissions. For some reason, can't create. So our Forceopoly admin. Who's this assigned to? My user. Woo, excuse me. Does this permission set have access to create games? It should have access to create everything. I wonder why we're not able to create a game. Well, let's move it down. I can't imagine it would be something that we couldn't do as part of initializing our We gotta take this out, right? We're gonna get rid of that other thing. All right, well, let's see if... Maybe I didn't have it, maybe I didn't save the... No, I think I saved it. All right, so we'll run through here. Let's see, we'll pick our user. First piece, pick player 2. Different piece. No more players, please. Next. That's so weird. Oh, required, well, yeah, a required field missing. All right, did it create our game? Yeah, it created our game. So I guess it just didn't like us throwing an insert right at the start there. I guess I've never run into that before, but okay. We'll do it down here, and then we'll loop our players so we can get so we can assign the game to them. Player collection, we're going to loop over that. We'll do an assignment. Set player game. So we'll loop the current player. We don't need a variable now because we actually have that current context, and we're setting the game to new game ID. Okay. Loop that, then insert our players, and we hopefully get some players with a game and some pieces selected. User, battleship, user, boot. No more players, please. Uh-oh. Did we not? Wait a minute. So it still thinks our game is missing? Isn't that what we just did here? Players. Oh, no, hold on. No, that's the current context. Nope, not the player count. I feel like I've done this before, B-Right, where I definitely see what you're saying if it's by value and not by reference, but I think I've stepped through this. Otherwise, we're going to have to move that game somewhere else, and maybe we have to loop through it up above. But this feels like a familiar new game record ID. That should be it. I'm going to test this one more time, and then we'll take another swing at it. The good news is our pieces, at least according to the debug logs on the side, seem to be persisting. Yeah. Required field missing. Do one more permission set check here. Make sure that our player. Yeah, we definitely have access to the game. Okay. All right. Well, that's fun. I've never run into that before. So we need to insert our game somewhere else, and then we would want to set it here, but not quite sure why we can't. We could go super cheese and make like a welcome screen, and then after that welcome screen, insert our game, and then we'll have it hopefully for the loop below. So that's what I'm gonna do. We'll do that right here. Welcome to Forceopoly. Okay. Copy that. Insert our game right here. Hopefully. Get rid of this. Get rid of this whole business. Just kidding. Delete this. Then delete this. Okay. Now inside of our init, we should be able to set that again. So new player game equals new game ID. I'm going to check one thing and make sure that my new game variable is actually, yeah, it's a game object. Okay. I thought maybe I like picked a different object type and it was, you know, was trying to shove a game Salesforce ID or a different object ID into a game lookup, but that's not it. Okay, well, hopefully this is what we're after. So we're going to insert our game here after we say hello to our user, and then we're hopefully going to have it included as part of the assignment because the record will have been made. Let's see how we did. Welcome to Forceopoly. Thank you for having us. Okay, we survived the insert of the where is it? We survived the insert of the game, so hopefully that variable is now ready to be used. And hopefully our... Oh, look at that. New player game equals null. Really? Do I... Wait a minute. Make sure that ID is blank. After the flow creates records, ID is set to match the record that was created. We should have the field, right? All values from a record. Yeah, new game. Done. I'm going to do something really silly. I'm going to write out the new game ID here. This is like my last resort. New game. Wait, that sometimes this does a weird thing. New game ID. We'll write it out right here. Find out if we really have it. Welcome. I realize I'm probably like inserting game records left and right over here with our shenanigans. Let's go take a look at what's coming through. Oh. Wait, really? There should be some more in here, shouldn't there? Those transactions haven't been committed. Yeah, that seems... Hold on. Hold on. That worked. Oh, debug rolls back. Never mind. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Yep, yep, yep. Thank you, B-Ride. I'm not going crazy. Okay. Battleship. Boot. No more players. It was definitely not. So I wonder. Well, let's try. Yeah, would that make any sense though? I can't imagine if we were to debug and something. I, I'm, I'm. What? Wait a minute. Okay. Maybe the auto number in debug breaks. Oh, that would be interesting. I'm not sure why this just happened though. Let's see. Welcome to Forceopoly. Do we have our... All records are ready to be created when the next screen pause or local action is executed, or when the interview finishes. Man, this seems silly. What are we missing? I might try to activate this if it's still giving us trouble. No more players, please. It's not writing our game ID here, so, and it's giving us nulls inside of here. I would have expected that variable to be updated as part of the insert game call here. This is a little wild. I was definitely not expecting to run into something that seems so trivial. We're setting our game field here. I guess I wonder, could I just, let's try something else. Let's try, I feel like we're down a rabbit hole here, but I'm going to try to store the new game ID. Seems really silly, but I'll try it because we're already into some unexpectedly weird stuff here. New game ID equals new game ID. I've never had to do these kinds of backflips before in a flow, so I'm still a little leery that something else is going on. All right, let's show new game ID instead here. Okay, let's debug again. Still blank. Still blank. Wow. What is going on? Next weird idea. put another screen here. And let's look for that new game ID. Oops, we gotta move this up. I don't know if it's because we're flopping around in this loop with a screen. I can't imagine. This seems weird. I've never had to do these kinds of, like I said, backflips. See, look, we didn't even create a new game. We didn't get the ID back. I'm gonna do one more check here. That's new game ID. Now what if I do new game.id? Because the new game ID is the variable that I created. Oops. Okay, so the first one is the variable that I'm setting. That's what I'm wondering, B-Rai. If it's like there's no fields that we're setting, so it's like, does it really know what to do with the record? I'll set a field. I'll do something dumb. I'll try that next. We'll set the owner ID or something. Just set it to the current user, which would happen anyway, but so it has something to work with. All right, well, let's debug here a second. Okay, so we're all the way back to step one here of just trying to get a game. Nothing. Weird. Weird. It's like I bet you're onto something, B-Rai. We're not doing anything to that. We're not acting upon that variable at all. We're just, it's kind of like if I was in Apex, I'd just be like, insert new game. There's no fields to do anything with, but nonetheless, maybe a flow expects that it is somehow acted upon. So I'll bite. Let's do an assignment on game, I guess. We'll put my set some game field, right? We'll do new game owner. Yeah, set the owner to current user. Try that. This is definitely a new one for me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this works. I would love this to just work. Partly because I'm thirsty and I want to go get a drink and take a little intermission with y'all. But let's drum roll, fingers crossed, knock on wood. There it is. That was it. The first assignment on a record variable changes it from null to empty object. There we go. Interesting stuff. Yeah, like this is this is not a completely unusual set of circumstances. You have these umbrella objects. I mean, we're talking about Monopoly, but out in the real world, there are sometimes these container objects that don't really have any values that need to inherently be set, right off the bat. Our game is an example. I'm not going to set the active player because I don't have one yet. I suppose I I don't even have a player to put in there yet, and I wouldn't until after the game was created, because I need a player to relate to the I need a game to relate a player to in order to create one. I default the free parking bank to 0, so I don't need to set that. The name is an auto number because there's no reason to have a name for a game. I don't think. We've got formulas. Our hotel's total is defaulted. We've got more formulas and summaries. Our hotel's total is defaulted. There's literally nothing on this object that needs to be set, but Flow needs us to nudge it somehow to get it to show up in the process. Now, I got here. Let's see if let's see what happens from here. So we should have a game record, and hopefully we're going to end up with some players that have that are related to that game. I'll just pick 2. All done, finished. Okay. Looking in the variables here where we insert player, it does look like we've got the game set. The good news is the piece, very important, the piece was maintained. That was my bigger concern, that everybody was gonna end up with Battleship or whatever was selected, but that wasn't the case. Another good suggestion from B-Riot, maybe that only happens during debug, so that's worth a check. I'm always hesitant to activate flows over and over again because of the paper trail that it leaves, and it also, if you come in 3 months from now and you see there's 17 versions of a flow and you're kind of like, what happened? What changed between each one? But I think it's a valid point, right? The debugger could be executing things a little bit different than when it's activated and actually in production. So it could be because it's not running other processes that we're not getting what we need. Anyway, let's go take a look at, did we get a game? We got a game. We got game 3. Did we get players? Look at that. We got players. Holy cow. Amazing. They got money. They got pieces. They're not on any current property. They're related to a user. We've got all kinds of validation that we need to address around users and pieces, but that is okay. So that was 1 hour and 40 minutes to build that part of the flow, and 20 minutes of that was debugging that really interesting object with no fields to set. Will not actually be inserted, at least in debug mode. I'll go back and test it in production mode at some point. I propose a break. Take 5 minutes to get a soda pop and a bottle of water. And I think I got a break screen here, so I'm going to switch over to that. We'll come back in 5. And we're back. And I have Mexican Coca-Cola. Brought to you by Wegmans. Thank you, Wegmans. And I've got way less exciting Pellegrino. Not sponsored. Neither sponsored. I read somewhere that Pellegrino mineral water has the highest amount of uranium in it of all bottled spring waters. I guess because of where it comes from and whatever spring is feeding it is, has a little bit more uranium juice in it than the others. I don't know if that's true, but I jokingly tell my kids to get me some uranium water out of the fridge. But for now, we'll start with the Coke. Maybe if I can open it. Okay, can't open it. There we go. All right. Where were we? Wow, that little interesting bit of flow trivia tripped us up there for a couple of seconds, but hey, we got players. Cool. I really don't think we needed to do all this nonsense here. I can imagine. Let's clear some of this out because this is silly. I think we had this field here or screen whose sole purpose was to, yeah. I hope we can get rid of some of this stuff and this will all still work. So let's delete that flow screen. I don't feel we shouldn't have to store the new game ID. Let's see, it seems really crazy. We do need to set the owner or some field on this thing, so I guess we'll go with the owner ID for now. I don't think we actually need this variable, this new game ID variable. Where else are you being used? You're being used in another display screen. Here? Yeah, we put it in this. Let's get rid of it here. Whoops. Okay, what just happened? Sometimes, man, these display text fields, they have a little bit of a conniption if you start messing with them. Let's do this. We already welcomed everybody to Monopoly, so now we'll just talk like a pirate and tell them to pick their players. All right, did we get rid of everything that was referencing new game ID? I think so. Yes. Okay, so probably some of those other backflips that we were doing may have also been unnecessary. We may be able to actually just insert the game up front in the way that we were doing it before by just setting a field right off the bat. I'm tempted to try that because I don't want to have to do this. This would be a little bit more elegant, right? If we just said create record, insert game, and use separate resources, do game. I can do the assignment right here. And I would hope that would do all the shenanigans that we were that we were just running through. So I don't need to set some field. I don't need to insert game a second time, obviously. Probably all the stuff that we were dealing with down here too in that loop was another struggle. So this needs to become insert the game ID from insert game. I think we just cleaned up our mess. I think we got everything here. Let's see. Okay. We're going to find out. Might have to redo some things that I just undid. I liked how the flow was taking a long time to save there. It gave me like a like a dramatic pause so that I could drink my soda. It was nice. All right, let's debug. Welcome to Forceopoly. Did we create a record? We're gonna find out here. Let's user battleship. There's our game record, our game ID. Yep, it's doing it. It's doing what it needs to do now. Just not setting a field was making it freak out. We should have another game with 2 players. I think that was game 4. That looks like right about now. And I've got 2 players. Okay. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, ready for more progress. Now, we have a game. We have players in the game. We need our game properties, which is a replica of, or an instance of all of these, and we're gonna relate the game properties back. I think we have this object already. Let's just double check it. So now we're going to create some of these. So we're going to create a collection of these. They also relate to the game with a master detail. They don't have a name. They we do not have a hotel. We do not have any houses. It is not a monopoly. It is not mortgaged. It does relate to. Okay, thank goodness we have a field we can set on these records. Owner, by the way, owner in this case is not the owner. Well, technically it's the owner of the record because the only owner of the property, but it's not the standard field. This is whatever player has control of this property. So, and that will be blank as well when we start. So what we need to do is get all of our properties out, and then we need to loop through those, and then we need to make game properties from each property, and then we need to insert that onto the game as well. So I think this one's going to be a little easier because we don't have to muck about with the player selection. This is just like a, read, clone, not even clone, read and base off of a loop of records to create another loop or create another collection. Let's do it. We can do it after we insert our players, I guess. We need to get some records. Get properties. We don't really have any statuses on properties. I don't know why we would. I guess maybe if you were to take the Monopoly model and like want to create your own special properties or something like that, you could with this. Create the road that you live on and stuff like that. Activate them or deactivate them, but we don't have anything like that. So we're going to get all the properties out because we need them. Get all the records, store them all. Oh, we don't even need a filter here. We don't really need to sort it because they've already got a sequence on them. I'm going to loop through these. So let's loop the properties. And that's here. And we need a collection to put our new game properties into. This will be a record type. Game property, and we're going to have it be a collection. And we are going to use another variable, so we'll create a new game we're going to use an iterator variable for the. Do we have to? Yeah. Let's do that. New game property. This is also a record, and this is going to be a game property. Okay, and we're gonna, so we're looping through our properties. We're going to assign, we're going to init that game property. So new game property dot game equals our new game. And our new game property equals the current property ID. I think those are the only two fields that we need to set the game, we need to set the property, everything else is defaulted. Nobody owns these properties yet in the game. Some properties obviously can't be owned. We use property loosely. It also represents Go and Chance and Community Chest, Jail. We'll need some logic to prevent those from being ownable, but I think just the nature of the record type on those properties we'll be able to use to tell us what rules apply to them. All right, that should be it. So we're initting the game property record, and then like I did up above, let's add it to the collection. So we're going to take our new game property. Wait, I do this backwards half the time. I try to put the collection into the property instead of the property into the put the record into the collection. Put the collection into the record instead of the collection. Never mind. Let's move on. All right, new game property. Wait, not equals, add. There we go. Okay, add it to the collection. Keep looping. Chug, 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 chug. Get out of that. Insert our game properties. Type correctly. Okay, multiple. Use our collection. That should do it. Let's debug. So we should get a game. We should get 2 players, because I'm going to pick 2 players. And uh-oh. Oh no, not again. Required field missing. Did I just miss it? Wait a minute. Are we back in this mode again? Did I not save? No, I saved. It's back to thinking that my game is null. It's the same variable that we were using up above. This is a big loop. Let's get up here and see if our users got the game record. Am I making the right reference? Game ID from insert game. Maybe I'm using the wrong thing. I am using the wrong thing. Got to get rid of that other property. Keep your properties clean, kids. If you got junk in there, it's going to mess you all up. I do not need this. False alarm. And debug again. I think we're going to be in a better spot this time. User, battleship, user, boot. There we go. All right, back to the games. This one should have 2 players and a whole bunch of properties. 40, I think, total. There's 40 on the board. Got it. Okay, and each of these should be related to Yep, so this okay. This property belongs to this game, and this property points to go to jail. So this is what you, when you land on this, you basically lose your turn, go to jail. Not owned by anybody yet. All the other kind of metadata there we're good. So we've got our game, got our players, we've got our game properties. We do need to do card properties. I'm not going to bore you guys with that one. I have that data. I just don't have it in the app yet. What I would like to think about now is, well, for all intents and purposes, this almost starts a Monopoly game that is whatchamacallit, that just doesn't have chance in community chess cards, with the exception of selecting who goes first when. So basically rolling the dice to start the game. I'm trying to think how best to do that. What could we use to... Because we have these 4 players now. They do have a sequence, I believe. Let's go back to our game. Take a look. We got 2 players. Player 7 is sequence 1 because they were picked first. Player 8 is sequence 2 because they were picked second. So normally in a Monopoly game, you'd get everyone together and say, let's do the thing. Let's play the game. Everybody, 3 of your friends would join in, and then each person would have to roll to determine who goes first. And let's see. I want to take a look at the rules because I can't remember if it's whoever's highest. Is it just clockwise from there? We don't really have a notion of clockwise for this. Monopoly starting player. How do you play it? Player that rolls highest on both dice goes first. Gameplay proceeds clockwise from that player. So, I mean, we could just randomize the... I'm making light of that because I don't think it's like... We don't just snap our fingers and randomize 4 field values on 4 records for 4 records that have something in common, right? That's not like... There isn't a function for that inside of Salesforce. We've got to think about how to do that. If we want to do that. Maybe we don't want to do that right now. Maybe talk a little bit about what would happen next, right? So let's just pretend that the sequence the sequence of the players as chosen in the game setup is the order they're going to go in. So in this example, player 7 is going to go before player 8. That's all there is to it. I think we can work that way. We can always come back and say, if we can, because we're going to basically use everything, at least the start of the game, to say, hey, let's pick the lowest person in the sequence and have them play, right? They're going to play a turn. So to play a turn, what could we do? We know the user that has to play the turn. I feel like maybe what we're getting to is like kind of like a little transaction table, right? Because we could do this async with that. So we create the game. The last thing the game does is tells the system what needs to happen next, right? So it's going to tell something, and I think it is like a, like a transaction table or a transaction object that says a turn object, right? A turn object would represent what transpires in a in the course of one person's turn, from the time that they roll to the time that they give the dice to the next person. So maybe we do need to look at a turn object. I think I talked about this last week. I think it'd be kind of cool to have that turn object, because you could probably get like some interesting analytics out of games in your org. How long they go, how many turns are taken, who's how much money is transacted. It's a little bit of, it's like double what is it? Double line accounting, not double line accounting. Anyway, transaction-y kind of stuff. We need to know like debits and credits and things like that. But we could, that would be handy, because the system could put a turn into that object, and then we know that somebody needs to do something. So if Forceopoly was installed in some org, and there were 10 games going on at once, and one person was in 3 of those games, they could go somewhere and see what their, it's basically their turn in these different games. So I think I'm going to go down that path a little bit, which gets us back into a little bit of object modeling, but I think that's okay. This will be helpful, because I think this is going to be, an asynchronous thing. It's gonna be people looking at a list of records and saying, "Oh, it's my turn in this game," after they get notified somehow that it's, hey Jim, it's your turn to roll, and they're gonna go take some action on that and get the system will give them some feedback. Also, that act of having a turn, it sort of represents the dice. For one thing, it says, hey, you're when you perform it, when you hit hit roll on this turn object, it will figure out what your dice throw was for you. It will move you to your next location. It's probably helpful for it to know about the previous turn, maybe the previous turn in general, and the previous turn for this player, so that we could know where you came from, and have a little bit of breadcrumbing that goes on. So I might just be talking myself into this, but I feel like we want a turn object that is all the transactions. We can hang rolling off of that. We can hang the event that needs to occur when you land somewhere. We can evaluate the turn. Knows, we'll look at the sequence, determine where the player has landed, grab that game property, evaluate its ownership, evaluate other aspects of it, and then make a determination on what needs to happen. You can buy it with auctions, you can sell it, etc. So let's do that. Here we go. Mexican Coke in a glass bottle is the best, without a doubt. Let's see. Let's go create a new object. Turn. Be a lot of turns. Probably not a lot of value long term in keeping the turns around. We'll see. But I don't think they need their own. They don't need their own tab. They're just going to be. They're always going to be related to a game. Let's see. Turns are part of a game, so let's create another master detail there. There's no point in having turns if we don't have a game. We might need to adjust some permission. Let's see. Turns. Allow users with read write to the master record. It's fine for now. We'll leave it at read only. We may have to rethink some of the security once this gets alive and we can see different views from different players and what they're able to do. We'll have to scale some permission around these. All right, so the game has turns. Let's think about a turn. I start a game of Monopoly. I'm going first. I roll the dice. That's my first step, I think. So I think we want to know what our roll was. We'll make that a number. It's never greater than 12. Doing the usual permission business of not setting anything here. We'll do everything on the permission set. It's important for us to know if it's a double, right? Because if we roll a double, we get another turn. If we roll 3 doubles, we go to jail. So that's, and I think we're going to, that's not going to be a formula. I don't think we need to get to the point of, I don't know, how clever do we need to be? Do we want to know the number on the first die and the number on the second die, or is it enough just to know the total and if it was doubles? If I do the former, I don't want to do the former. That seems too. If I'm feeling really sadistic, sometime I'll come back and remodel so that we actually track the dice rolls. Useless analytic data of the most rolled numbers in a Monopoly game is probably not our highest priority right now. So we'll just go with the checkbox. And I think our code that does our random will know that it's rolling 2 dice and will be able to determine if the roll was a double. So let's say is roll double. Roll double. Is roll double. Okay. If it's a double, I get to take another turn, but that kind of happened. Well, that's good to know when we roll. We have to capture that, but it won't be important until we get to the end of the cycle of a roll. So I roll, and then I move. So I'm gonna go to a game property. So let's do that. We need every turn Well, it doesn't have a game property to start, so I'm not going to make it a master detail because we want to use the turns as kind of like a cue for what action needs to be taken. When I roll, I end up on a property. I end up on a game property. If I know where I came from, that's kind of helpful. The only exception would be I wouldn't know where I came from on my first turn. I mean, I know it. We'll come back to that. I'm feeling like there's a previous, a previous turn that we want each turn to know about. But let's come back to that. So I end up on a game property. And then, well, it's helpful to know what player this turn belongs to. I think that should be a master detail because there's no point in... I don't think we would ever have a turn that doesn't involve a player. Okay, so now we know what game the turn belongs to. We know what property we landed on. We know what player this turn is for. We know what we rolled, which will result in what property we landed on. We know whether or not the roll was a double, so if we get to go again. And let's see. If I was on go and I rolled a 6, I don't know where I'd end up, but let's probably Connecticut Avenue, right? I get there. So that becomes the game property. The game needs to look and say, does anybody own that property? And if the answer is yes, then we need to pay rent. So I'm thinking about like the effects of landing on a the effects of taking a turn, right? What can they be? Let's throw something in here. Let's say turn effects. We have, let's see, what can happen when we land somewhere? We can a little bit of pseudo flowchart here. We can buy it, right? If it's not owned. We can pay rent. If it is owned. We can go to jail if we land on a certain property. We can draw a card. If it's a chance or a community chest, right? we can get paid if it's free parking. Maybe we just call that we get free parkinged, right? It's a very, I don't think there's any other field, any other property that you land on. Well, we get paid, right? We get paid for landing on free parking. We get paid for landing or passing go. So passing is something that we have to think about in that case. Which again, I think if we know the previous turn's property, we can determine if we crossed over go, which would be, I think, 0 in our positions. So we can buy a property, and I'm going to include auction in buying, because I know that there's that rule of, hey, if you land on a property and you don't want to buy it for the face value, then it goes up for auction and everybody can start bidding on it. That's another situation. Let's see. If I'm paying rent, I'm paying it to one person. If I'm paying tax, I'm paying it to free parking or the bank, the free parking bank. Most chance cards pay me or charge me. There are a couple of chance cards out there that chance and community chest where you have to pay everyone. So that's, I was originally thinking, who do you have to pay? Do we need to track that in any way? And because I think it's either one person or all people. So I don't think we're going to go down the path of like, hey, you paid these 3 people when you drew that card that said give everybody $50 because you won the mayor election or whatever it is. What might be a little more interesting and might require some more structure is like a trade. Because you could say, hey, I'll give you these 2 properties for these 3 properties, and do an exchange like that. Or I'll give you these 2 properties for this property and $1,000 or something, something to that effect. That could be part of it. Also, building houses and hotels. I think you can do that anywhere on the board when you start your turn. So there may be, again, I don't know if we need to track that like at a lower level besides maybe an indicator of something happened, right? Or maybe even your maybe it's helpful to know your balance, your bank balance at the start and end of each transaction or each turn. We could track it maybe at the end because if we know the previous one, we knew what it was before. So there's there's definitely some crevices and edge cases in this. I think we can let's start with a happy path, right? I'm the first player. I roll something. I land somewhere, and I buy it. That might be the easiest condition to start with. So let's start there. Let's finish our create new game by inserting a turn for our first player, marking our first player as our active player, and starting the game with that person, knowing that we can come back and maybe have to build some kind of random, some sort of randomizer situation for the players. So let's do that. We're still back over here. I need to do a little. Do I need to update the permission sets here? I think I need to update the turn. Okay. We still don't have a permission set for our non-admin people, but I think that's, that's okay. We're still getting our act together here. All right, so our first turn gets assigned to our player with the lowest sequence. I think I'm going to query that out from here in anticipation of there again being some kind of random excuse me, random action that happens. And that might be something that happens outside of Flow, or happens through some kind of invocable or something, because I can't think of a good way to build random in Flow right now. I'll do some research on that, but I don't think there's a great way to do that. So let's query. I know we already have our players here. I feel like I'm willing to burn one SQL call to get it out rather than going through and determining what the... Well, actually, I take that back. I think we know we can pull the first... Can I pull the first... Can I do an assignment here, maybe? Whoops. Get... Nah, let's just query it out. Get first player. Okay, so we want the that's in this game that we're dealing with here. We want to sort by the sequence. We only want the first record. Let's store all the fields. So that's our first player. And we want to insert a turn. First turn, this will say. Just one. Oh, I haven't refreshed the flow, so I don't have that turn object. Okay, now let's create a new turn. First turn. Oop, what's going on here? Did I not save my permissions? Oh, I did. Oh wait, no, use separate resources, sorry. Here's our turn. We need to set the game to our... To that, we need to set our player to our first player. And we need to set nothing else. That's it. Because we're not going to roll yet. We're going to have use this as a way for the system to say, hey, yo, you're up next. Maybe we need a status on this. No, I don't think we need a status. We can just see if roll is blank, right? Then it hasn't been run yet, and there should only ever be one record with a blank roll, one turn with a blank roll at any given time. I can't think of a reason why we would do anything different there. So, all right, let's insert the first turn. Let's test this. You know what I should give you guys? I should give you chicken cam. You guys want to see some birds? Here, oh, hang on a second. Let's take a moment to appreciate the poultry. I don't know if this is gonna work. Oh. Yep. How's that? Bird cam. A little bit more. There we go. I'll make bird cam a little smaller. Just you can see it. Keeping the bird feeder clean. All right, where were we? Back to serious business. Welcome to Forceopoly. We'll build a chicken management platform in another series. No more players, please. All done. Did we get a turn? Got a game. Did I add turns to the layout? I probably did not. Of our game. Should be related. Well, turns are there. I just need to refresh. Or did I customize this page? Let me see. Oh, there it is. First turn goes to first player. They have not rolled yet, and they did not land on a property yet because they have not rolled yet. So, cool. I think we should activate this create new game for now. And I wonder, should we override the new action? I forgot you can't do that. We have to, we'll have to wrap it in a lightning component in order to override it, which we can do that. I'm just not going to do that right now. Okay, so that is active. So we have a flow that creates a new game. Now we need a flow that allows a person to take to basically roll and take their turn. So let's make that. Still gonna have to figure out the random, but we'll deal with that. Let's see. I'm trying to think offhand. Is there any? What would be a good way to run random in a flow? I default to, well, make a invocable that can call some Apex that has lots of access to random thingers, and just expose something like a get random number between two between two values. But for now, we'll at least build it out. Everybody's going to roll, maybe they'll roll the current second or something, some mod of a timestamp, not random at all, but something that will at least let things move around the board. So, okay, let's get out of create new game because we've got that active now. Let's go back into our flows. It'd be nice, some kind of notification should probably happen here, right? And maybe some We could create a list view that's like my turn, you know, or my turns, anything that belongs to the user that hasn't rolled yet. I think there's a couple of a couple of well, actually, I think our roll. I think it's going to be more like take turn, right? Because I think we'll have a roll phase. We'll move. We'll put the person on the property that they land on, and then the flow would walk them through the decision that they need to make. And I think this flow is going to get ugly really fast because of all of the outcomes that could occur. But you know, again, let's start somewhere. So I was going to call it roll, but I think I'm going to call it take turn. This will be another screen flow. Your turn. Click next to roll. We could also build like a little lightning component, right? That would make some little dice. You know. Hopefully they can make that noise. For now, we'll just assume everybody rolls a. Well, we probably, let's see. We're going to come from. I think this is a button on a record. So it could take the record ID as input here, right? Which would allow us to query out the turn, right? So let's load the turn. Definitely a security point of consideration here, right? If we're gonna allow this to be initiated through a record ID, we need to make sure that at some point we need to make sure that people can't just pick any turn and start playing for other people. So that should come into consideration at some point. We want the record whose ID equals the record ID, just the first record, and store all the fields. Good. Okay. So we're going to load that on the start. Say take your turn, roll the dice, make an assignment here, roll dice, and so our load turns roll equal, oh wait, just roll. Insert clever formula here. Is there all right, am I totally zoning out? Is there a random Salesforce function random? No. Here's easy random numbers come to flow, though. Let's see, what does unofficial SF have to say about this? These guys build blackjack. That's cool. Yeah, this looks like something we have to install. Where's the... Generate a random number for your flows. Provide it with a starting and an ending integer. If you provide it with 0 and 1, you get a decimal between 0 and 1. Otherwise, you get a whole number. How do you install? How do we get source code? Tell me more. Acquiring minds. Let's look at the source. It's got a class associated with it. Okay, so it looks like a what is it, an invocable, I'm guessing? Yep. Okay, so not native through a Salesforce formula function or formula value. So maybe I'll yoink Alex's little ditty here a little bit later. For right now, everybody's going to roll a 6. We'll just keep it. We'll get it going. All right, so we rolled the dice. We assigned that value, and I'm just going to say that it's never a double for right now. Okay. So we rolled, hypothetically. We checked our double. We need to land somewhere. So if all right, we need another field on the turn, which would be previous turn. Now, do we need to? I feel like we need to string together. Do we? I think we could have previous turn and previous player turn, so that we could have like, turn by turn. The whole game could basically be like recorded and replayed, and then previous player turn is what is useful to us to know where did you come from, so that we can do sequence math and things like that. So let's make 2 new related fields here. Let's say we're going to make one that's just previous turn. I think I'm naming those correctly. And then we'll do a previous player turn. Previous next. Naming convention's a little confusing there, but I think we'll manage. Okay, so the previous turn is regardless of player, what happened before this one. Previous player turn is what if I'm playing with 3 other people and it's my turn, then it's my turn again. When it gets to my turn again, it's going to set my previous player turn, so I have some information about where I landed and other stuff as we figure that out. So if this is blank, it's your first turn, because we didn't come from anywhere. Technically we're on go, but I think we can allow the game logic to assume that for us. When we start a game, pretty sure we don't get $200, right? We get our $1,500 to start the game, and now we're on our way. So if we go back to our flow here, let's save this as take turn. And I'm going to refresh that because oh wait, I got to update my, let's update our permission sets here. Well, the bird's left, man. There's nothing on chicken cam. Let's make sure we have access to our new fields on turn. Okay, so we got new fields. So let's refresh, take turn. All right, we rolled the dice. If we want to determine the sequence of the, is it sequence or position? What did we call that? Let's look at our property. Our property has a position, so I want to determine what our position is after our turn. So if we roll the dice and we get a 6, if the previous player turn is null, then we're on go, and our position is 6. If it's not null, then I want to look at the previous player turn's game properties, position, and add 6 to that. And if I'm above 40, then I want to subtract. I want to subtract 40 because I'm going past go, and go is position 40. It's either 4. Yeah, I think it's 40. We got like 0 based index versus 1 based index. We'll figure that out with a little bit of math and testing. But let's start our decision tree here. So first turn, question mark. Yes. First turn, yes. Our first turn is yes if the turn's previous player turn, oops, is null. So if it is our first turn, we need to go find the, we're going to query out the game property for this game whose property's position is, can I do that in a query? Let's see. I feel like I'm going to need a formula field on game property that elevates the position because I can't traverse the object structure in my query. But let's see, get records, get game property. This would be a little bit more elegant, actually, before we do that, if we create a position variable and we do the math here, because no matter what, we're going to query out, right? So we don't want to do like basically 90% of the same logic in 2 different flow paths. So I'm going to create we'll create a variable called position. That's going to be a number, no decimals, thank you. So if it's our first turn, our position equals our roll, I think, right? We're on 0. We're on go, and we roll 6. So we go 0. Well, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm looking for whatever is in position 6. Yes, okay. So let's set position to roll. So that's our load turn. Wait, position equals load turn roll. If it's not, then we need to do that other math, which is, I feel like this is probably going to be better as a formula. Let's think this through. So if I'm on position 12, or no, I'm on position 6. My last roll put me on position 6. And then I rolled a 3. No. I rolled another 6 because that's the only thing we're rolling right now. I roll another 6. Now I'm looking for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I need position 12. That's easy. That's previous player turn, game position, or I'm sorry, game property position, plus roll. Because game property, or I'm sorry, previous player turn, game property position is, it was 6. So, but if it was 37, income tax, luxury tax, can't remember. Whatever. If we're on position 37 and we roll a 6, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, no, because 40 is go. I'm sorry, 40 is Broadway. 0 is go. So we need to take 40 out of wherever we end up, and then we're at 3, which would be Broadway or go. See, this is where it gets a little funky. We had to think is it go, Baltic, community chest, I think. So anyway, if we're over that number, we have to scale it back. So let's see if we can do that. I think we do that in a formula, really. This might be easier. If it's not your first turn, let's see, new resource, formula. This is calculate position number if the roll plus there we go. That's no joke. All right, so if this is greater than 40, which is our highest position, and I suppose we could get clever and actually query that out if you really wanted to make the board dynamic, but I don't think we have to do that. If it's that, then we take that and we subtract 40 from it. Okay. Otherwise, it's just the value. If we rolled a 6 and we were previously on 14, then we're at 20, which I think is free parking. Hope I got that right. Let's try to save this. Okay, so far so good. So on this default outcome, it assumes that we are not on our first turn. So we're going to set position to formula. So then our position equals calculate position. Okay, so we've calculated the position. Now we should be able to query out the game property whose position, the game property whose property's position equals that value. And this is where I think we're going to have to pull up a, let's load game property by position. Yeah, see, so here's this is a limitation of Flow. I can't, I need to be able to traverse the game properties property to get the position. So what I'm going to do in lieu of that is create a position formula field on game property to elevate that. I always have a little bit of hesitation with formula fields because something like this means that forever and ever unto the end of time, no positions can change on the properties that these game properties are made from. A little bit more flexible would be to stamp the position of the property onto the game property. But I don't think we have to go there, right this instant. That would be if you really wanted to build your own boards, right? So you don't have to worry about breaking history. But we won't do that here. We'll just create a formula field on game property for that value, so our flow can use it. It'll probably come in handy in other places too. All right, so new formula. Here come the birds. This is position. I'm going to say property position. So game property position. There we go. I don't always put these kinds of fields on the layout because there's just not a lot of value add to them for people, for people to see them. So, okay, so we can't do this yet, but we have saved that. I need to update the permission set so we can see that field. Oh wait, that's on the term. Let's go to the game property. There we go. I named it property position because I feel like it avoids some confusion that like the game property itself doesn't have a position. It's inheriting it from from its related property. So now if I refresh this, I should be able to, let's see. Oops, we should be able to query this. We should connect these two together. Alright, for our last magic trick before we wrap here as we approach 6 o'clock. This is not terribly exciting, but let's load game property by position. We'll find a game property whose property position equals position. We just want the first one. And I think we'll wrap at that. So what did we do today? We built the start game flow, which creates a game record. It gives us a UI to pick the players that we want to have in the game. It lets us pick from 2 to 8 players and bypass having to pick 8 players. We ran into some excitement with our flow because of the structure of our game object doesn't require that any fields be set or assigned in the flow seemed to be having a hard time actually inserting that record. We don't know if that's because of debug, if we were just debugging, or if that would happen even if it was activated. Figure that out, just redundantly set the owner ID of the record to the person pushing the, starting the game, starting that flow. And we also create game properties, and we create the first turn in the game. We decided that it makes sense to have a turn object to sort of keep track of the transactions that happen throughout the game. It's a good way to prompt and notify people that, hey, it's your turn in this game of Monopoly, especially if you're playing multiple at the same time. Started the take turn flow here, which will probably be a button on the turn record. So when a player comes in and sees it's their turn, they can take their turn. It rolls for them in a very terrible way. It just gives everybody a 6 right now. We'll make that random, probably with some with some code from unofficial SF. We do some position math to determine where the player is going to go. If they're starting the game, they're moving from go. If it's a subsequent turn, it's based on their last turn that they took. And then we just got to the point of finding the game property by the position that we determine, so that we can set that in the turn, which basically tells us where the user landed. From there, we're going to evaluate that game property and see what can the player do now that they've landed on that property. Our first happy path is going to be to buy it, and we'll do that later. I'm going to pull this code. I'm going to push it into the repo and tag it as episode 2, and see you all next week, and probably rant and rave about this on the LinkedIns and the socials. My name's Tom Petros. I do some work at Red Argyle when I'm not here. We're always looking for smart weirdos like me. Check us out. Check out You Can't Do That on Salesforce at ycdtosf.com, or You Can't Do That on Salesforce.com, or just Google it. Hopefully it's out there by now. A little birdie told me we might make some stickers for next time, so I'm not above bribery and stuff. If it's swag that you need, there's big red no stickers and some logos coming. Thanks everyone. We'll see ya.